Right, the shifters we've got for this build are 11 speed 105. Oops, 11 speed 105 shifters. Again, eBay, and they came with that Cannondale handlebar that I showed you earlier. And they're in pretty good condition. They don't look like they've even been used very much, so everything feels as they should. We're going to start with the right hand side and do the front brake and the rear derailleur, and then we'll move to the left hand side and do the rear brake and the front derailleur. To adjust the little Jubilee clip, you've got to peel the hood back here and get access to that, and that allows you just to loosen off that and mount them onto the handlebars. What I've read online is that these should be mounted just so that they're about level with the bottom of the drops, so that's what we're going to do for now. That's the shifters mounted. Man, it's getting exciting. So all I need to do for the front brake is cut a length of housing. That's going to allow the cable just to go alongside the underside of the bar tape and down to the front brake housing like that, just leaving enough room for full motion of the handlebars. Best to only ever cut your cables inner and outer with one of these, or maybe a slightly better quality one than these, but there's several cutting faces on there. You can see the sides and at the end for various thicknesses. Now after you've cut these outers, it's a good idea just to square off the ends, because you can see it's a little bit burred maybe. So you just want to get an awl, poke it in the end and just reopen up the end again like that to make it nice and open and round. So we've cut our length and I'm just going to thread that in. Make sure that is fully seated up behind the shifter and tape it into place. And thread it down into the brake caliper. So we just want to loosen off the brakes, thread in the brake cable, and tighten the brakes back up again. We have some braking. We'll just tighten that up around the wheel as necessary. Okay, now we're gonna do the rear derailleur cable. So that also comes from this right hand shifter, and this is a narrower inner cable for it, and that's going to thread also around the inside of the handlebar here and then down, and the first point it's going to hit is this point here, that point there, and so we need a bit of housing that's going to take us from the shifter round the handlebar and then down into that position there. Because this cable came off another bike, because these shifters came off another bike, this cable here has got a little bit of a kink in it. Can you see that? And that does just affect how easily it's going to run through the outer cable. So I was going to just snip that bit off, but I'm not actually sure the cable's going to be long enough to reach the rear derailleur if I do. So it's only a slight kink, so I hope it's not going to damage the inner. Okay, so we've just threaded in the outer gear cable and taped it around the handlebars. It's gone through the barrel adjuster and then comes straight down here, and then it'll thread through a bracket that's up underneath the bottom bracket. So if you get right underneath there, you can see where I'm threading that through there, and then it comes along the chainstay and up into this point here, and then what we need is one more outer that will just go from here round in a bit of a loop and join into the rear derailleur just here. So we've cut our piece that's going to go to take us to the derailleur, and we've put end caps on each end, and we're going to get our gear cable and thread it through. Just got a bit of a frayed end there. Just want to twist that round so it doesn't damage the inside of the outer cable. So we'll thread that through. And the little lug on the frame keeps it in place just there. And I've tried to put a nice shallow bend in it, and then this last bit will thread through like so, and sit in there like that, and then we can just undo this so it threads in and through like that, and then we can just tighten that up. You can see down here, as I'm shifting now, the derailleur's moving. So you can see that that is all connected up, but obviously once all the gears and everything are cassettes in and the chains up, we can fine tune everything. So that's everything from the right hand shifter done, everything's working, and then we're just going to do the left hand now. Same thing, we're going to do the rear brake and the front derailleur. So we've got our bit of cable that's going to take us from the shifter to the top of the down tube, and we're going to thread through our front derailleur cable. What I've tried to do is leave just enough give on these cables here. I've not been very conservative at all because I'm just trying to get quite a neat finish at the front, but hey, if it turns out that they're not lax enough and I think that they're damaging the cables, then hey, I can always redo them. The front derailleur cable has just come down from this barrel adjuster up here and run down the down tube, run underneath this bracket, and it's going to come up to the front derailleur. Get that out of the way. So it comes up and over this, through this little slalom bit here, and then down into the cable guide. I've cut the piece here that's going to take us from the shifter to the front of the top tube. So first thing we're going to do is get our rear brake cable, which was pre-threaded into the shifter. That goes into the end of the cable. You don't have to put an end cap on the end that's going into the shifter because there's a sort of end cap type assembly that ends it all off nicely inside when you poke it in. So it threads up into the top tube like that, go through there, and that'll come out by the caliper down here. So when these are all adjusted, I'll snip off the excess and put some ferrules on the end. That's it for today's episode. All the cables are fit, and we've just got to wait for the Shimano free hub body to replace the Campagnolo one that came with the wheels, and then I can fit the cassette. The cassette has arrived. Here it is, Big Daddy. It's a 11 to 40 cassette, 11 speed, and hopefully it should work with this setup.